Guys, today we are going to discuss about correlation. Let's see what we are going to cover in this tutorial. Correlation, difference between correlation and parameterization, manual and automated correlation, identify dynamic value with WDIF, correlation function and tool demo. Correlation is generally done for dynamic values or the values written by server for any request. Dynamic value changes every time when we perform the steps, but there are few situations when value changes when different user is used. A good example of this is user ID, which will be same if same user is used, but will be different for different user. On any script, the two things we generally perform are parameterization and correlation. All the values that is recorded in the script which are user input while recording needs parameterization. For example, login credential, date of journey for ticket booking, payment details, and so on. All the values that server returns need to be correlated as they might change with time or with user. A good example of this is session ID, user ID, flight ID, and so on. When correlation is done by us, it is called as manual correlation, whereas if the same is done by the tool Vugen, it is considered as automated correlation. In both the cases, the common steps are identify the dynamic value and find the first instance of dynamic value in response of previous request. Capture the dynamic value from that request through correlation function save param. Replace the dynamic value with correlated function parameter name. Automated correlation uses already created tools. For manual correlation, we have to handle everything ourselves. We will see this in detail during tool demo. To identify the dynamic value, the best way is to record another script with similar steps and then compare them using WDIF utility. Vugen provides this utility for line-by-line comparison. The snapshot is of login section of the script that we are using throughout our tutorial. We can see every part of the script on login section is same except user session. This is the dynamic value and need to be correlated. Function that we use for correlation is save param. This function uses boundaries to identify dynamic value and capture them in the provided parameter name. The same parameter name can be used wherever dynamic value comes in the script. The boundary should be fixed and unique. From the response, the function searches for left and right unique boundaries, and whatever comes in between those boundaries is saved in the parameter. As an example, I have taken a string from which we have to capture dynamic value. I have copied the same request below, and on later one I have used color code to identify the boundaries and dynamic value. In the later colorful string, the data in yellow is left boundary and the one in green is right boundary. The blue value will be captured by the function. This value is saved in the parameter name session ID. In the end, you can see the function written with mandatory attributes. If you notice, quotes is considered as AND. If quotes come in between the boundaries, then backslash is used to instruct Vugen not consider those quotes as AND. So the final correlation for this dynamic value will be this. So you can see we have used backslash before quotes as they were the part of boundaries. Let's see correlation on the recorded script from previous tutorial in tool demo. I have opened the same script that we recorded during tutorial Vugen script recording. That script is sample. With similar steps, I recorded another script, sample1. Let's compare the login section of both the script. For this, I have to select login section and then through tools, select compare with the script, navigate to the script 1, click OK. So you can see that most of the part of this section is same, only the highlighted part is the difference. So user session value is different in both the scripts. So this is the dynamic value and need to be correlated. So let's navigate to the value. So this is our dynamic value. For correlation, we have to find this value in the previous request, in the response of previous request. So let's navigate back, click on the previous request, navigate to the tree view. So this is the tree view of the previous request. So this is the recorded snapshot and this is the replay snapshot. And whenever we want to compare the replay and recorded, we can have this view as well. So this is the HTML view, and if we want to see what are the different requests going to the server, we can see the same in the HTTP view. So let's click on HTTP view. So here are all the requests which are going to the server for the data or the content, and this is the exact request going to the server for this request, and this is the response we are getting from the server. So we have to find the dynamic value in the response of each request. So I'm just clicking on this tab and I have to find the dynamic value in this. So it's not there. Let's select the next request and I have to keep on doing till I found the dynamic value. Okay, so here is our dynamic value. So to create the correlation function, again there is two approach from here. I can highlight this value and do the right click, and on the right click I will find an option create correlation. So in this case, Vugen automatically select the boundaries for this highlighted value and create a correlation function before this request. So let me click create correlation. So on this pop-up, we can see which value is going to get correlated. What is the left boundary? What is going to be the right boundary? And how many occurrence of this dynamic value is there in the script. Once I click on yes, it will create the correlated function and replace this dynamic value with the parameter name. So that could be very easy, but there are few situations when Vugen doesn't select the unique boundaries. In that case, we have to manually find the unique left and right boundaries and create the correlation function before appropriate request and replace all the dynamic values with the parameter name. So let's have the different approach. So this could be very easy. I'm clicking no over here. So this is our dynamic value. For this, Vugen selected this as a left boundary. But maybe if this is not unique, we have to take a longer dynamic left boundary. Let's click and copy this value, and let's try to find whether how many occurrence of this value is there to be sure that this is the unique value. So there is one occurrence of this string. Okay, so this is the unique left boundary and this will be the right boundary. So once we get one unique boundary, we can proceed for correlation. Let's copy the whole of this string. Let's copy the same string in Notepad for future use. Let's navigate to the script view. This is the request before which we have to create our correlation function. Let's copy the string for future use, and on the right click, so on the right click, let's select this left boundary from here, or let's keep this as the whole string. Okay, on the right click, let's insert new step. Now we have to search our correlation function, that is web red save pam. So this is the correlation function. Let's click OK on this. So we have to give a parameter name to this. So let's take it like C session ID. C stands for correlated value, and the left boundary, and this is going to be our right boundary. And see, there are many other attributes available on this. So they are not mandatory, they are optional, but many times they are very helpful. So I just want everyone to go through these attributes, and because they are very helpful when we use correlation. Click OK on this. So this is our manually created correlation function. Now we have to replace our dynamic value with this parameter name. Always remember that Vugen needs curly bracket to understand whether this is our parameter name. So I have provided the curly bracket wherever I am replacing the dynamic value with the parameter name. So find next. So let's replace this. Okay, so there is no more occurrence. So this is our manual correlation. Now let's do the automated correlation for the same value. So for that, I have to revert back all the changes. Rather than deleting this, I'm just commenting this out so that we can compare that later as well. Copying this dynamic value and replacing it back to the parameter name that we have just provided. Okay, so now for manual automated correlation, we want correlated rule in place. So I'm just copying this value and then recording option. So this is our correlation, and here are different rules which are already provided by Vugen, but we need our own correlation rule. So let's check this checkbox to enable correlation. Then click on new application. Let's give a name demo. Now we have to create our own correlation rule. Let's give this name as session ID. Okay, so our left boundary, our right boundary, this is parameter prefix, so let's use it. Let's give a name, proper name to this. Now see, there are few options available over here. Import and delete. In case you want to use the same correlate rule on different machine having Vugen, you can export this rule from here and import the same rule on different machine. There is test option also available. Let's test our collation rule. Okay, so it seems to be working. So it's replacing the dynamic value with this parameter. Let's close this. Let's click OK. Okay, so now we have rule in place for automated correlation. Now the next thing is going to identify the dynamic value. So I'm going to replay the script to identify the dynamic value, because wherever the dynamic value is there, a script will not work over there and it will fail. So click on this. Okay, so let's navigate where this error come. Double click on this. It will navigate us to the request which failed, and see this request is having the dynamic values user session. Now the next thing, for automated correlation we have to scan the script for correlation. So click on this. So now the script will do the comparison between the recorded and replay and bring up the dynamic value. So see, it compared this value and found this is the different one. So I have to select this value and click correlate. So this tick mark confirms that correlation has been done. Let's navigate to the script view. So you can see the dynamic value has been replaced with the correlated parameter name, and this is our correlated function. So the Vugen has used the upgraded version of WebRec shape param, but it is almost the same. If you see that it has used the same boundary that we have provided. Okay, so now let me rerun the script, and this time it will not fail at that place. See, it passed. It navigates to the next ticket booking. So let's move ahead and try to scan the script for further dynamic value or value which needs to be correlated. Okay, so this seems to be the flight ID, which might change when this value changes. Okay, so let me show you this in the tree view, in the HTML view. Okay, so I'm sorry, we navigated to the wrong page. So if you can see, when we recorded the script, we were flying from Los Angeles to Denver, and these were our flights. But now we are flying from Paris to Portland, and the flight are different. So if we pass the same values of the flight, there would be error that occurred maybe on the front end or at the server end. So we have to capture these values. We have to find the correlation for these and try to capture the IDs for all these 4 flights and randomly select one out of that. So this is a very good example where you will learn about more attributes. So I just give this as a homework to you guys. to find the value of these. So you can see this is our one flight ID and we have to keep searching for more. So just a hint, in this collation we have to use ordinal attribute and save length attribute to capture all the 4 IDs of the flight, and then we will use lr paramar underscore random to select random value out of those 4 captured value. So please do it. And now let's move ahead. This is the first name last name of the user. So if the user is different, this is a good example when the value is not dynamic but it is changing with the user. So if the user is user demo1, so the name will be different. So this again you have to capture through collation and replace it over here. So this is again the homework for you guys. And here we are cancelling the ticket. So once again we are selecting the flight ID. So once again we have to capture it through collation from this request and then replace it over here. So once again this is going to be the homework for you guys, and I will try to put the sample of this application of this script so that you can, once you are done with your homework, you can do the comparison. That would be great and give you more confidence that you have done something correctly. So during this tutorial we have talked about manual collation. For the same dynamic value we have also done the automated collation, but it's always recommended to go with manual collation. So that's always going to help you out. And our next tutorial will be on controller. So we will discuss more on controller in our next upcoming tutorial. Thank you guys.